This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is the Superbike Show. My name is Lester and we are live here every Tuesday normally. And we're back again talking about what happened in India, MotoGP. It was the first ever MotoGP at the Bud International Circuit, and despite a lot of people's fears and worries that the whole thing would be an absolute shambles, it actually wasn't. Not that much of a shambles anyway, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I'm going to give it the thumbs up in general. You can have an alternative opinion if you want. Get in touch with us. We are live this Tuesday evening. We've got Lewis Ray here on the show. Good evening, Lewis.
Evening, Lester. How are you this evening?
I'm all right, yeah. I've just scoffed down my dinner, so yeah. If I sound a bit out of sorts a little bit, that's kind of why. But how are you anyway? What have you been up to? You've been to school and stuff, college? Yeah.
Actually, it's quite a chill weekend at home, watching on TV, watching bike racing on the TV. My first weekend at home, able to do that for 4 weeks. So it was a nice change. But yeah, back at a racetrack this weekend at Donington.
Very good. And Jay King back on the show. Jay, you looking refreshed?
No, rushed to get back home. But yeah, it's pretty much the same. Sat all weekend watching bikes on telly, and I've now got, I think, 3 weekends in a row of racing now, because I'm going to watch Donington, where you guys will be. Then we've got Three Sisters, and then I'm going on the last round of Brands Action. I've now got 3 weekends in a row of bike racing. So, yeah, lots to talk about over the weekend, though. Lots of controversy.
Was there? Didn't really notice.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me and Lewis, there's massive controversy. So.
These two were in a fierce debate just before, seconds earlier.
No, it's not a debate. We both agree.
Okay, well, let's see if you agree, if you tuned in, and maybe you will, potentially, anyway. So we've got lots to talk about this evening, and you can please get in touch with us this evening, because we're live. We always appreciate a live comment. We've got the old phone here. I'll be monitoring the old comments. Get them to us. Hashtag Motorsport Radio, or use the comments box below. Let us know. Have your say on how well you thought the Indian Grand Prix went at the weekend, despite all the rain and the negativity pre-weekend, which I thought, last week I said on the show, it was all a load of BS, mostly from British journalists, or one in particular, who was maybe putting a bit of a negative spin on things unnecessarily so. And I knew it would be a success, because Dorna were intent on putting on a good show, and they always do so. So there you go. Yeah. And also, a little thing called the World Superbikes happened at the weekend. Lots of drama and controversy in that as well. Lots to talk about. Plus, this weekend, BSB back in action at Donington Park for the second time this season. And we will have a brand new champion crowned at Donington this weekend. What? Yes, the R&G British Talent Cup comes to a close, and it's between just 2 people. One of them, Sullivan Mounsey, the other, Evan Belford. We'll be talking a bit about that later on the show, and get your thoughts as to what you think might happen. If you're tuned in live, listening, or you've downloaded the show as a podcast maybe, then do still get in touch with us. Right, Lewis, latest news, what's going on?
In the world of bikes in the last week, there's been quite a lot of news with, of course, BSB first of all heading to Donington Park this weekend, as we've already mentioned, for the British Talent Cup title decider. And in the BSB class itself, there's going to be an extra 2 bikes on the grid, with Franco Born and Alex Olsen joining the grid on the BSB halfway spec machines. So some new machinery, slightly different regulations to the normal BSB bikes, so it's going to be interesting to see how they get on track. And as well, of course, Franco Born, he'll be back with the Marvel HCL team, while Andrew Irwin returns to action this weekend. And at the last weekend, anyway, it was Ducati domination in both World Superbikes and MotoGP, with Ducati winning actually every single race in both MotoGP and World Superbike. So domination continuing there. And of course, big news in MotoGP world at the moment. We have obviously Marco Bezzecchi taking the pole position and the main race win at the weekend, while Jorge Martin only won the sprint. And as well, there was a couple of pile-ups at the weekend at turn 1. And as you mentioned, Lester, the weekend was pretty successful compared to what others were saying before the weekend, what journalists were saying before the weekend anyway. And as well, talking about success, Honda was back on form, I guess you could say, for the first time properly this season, with both Joan Mir and Marc Marquez competing inside the top 10 and actually inside the top 5. In Moto2, it was a disastrous weekend for the Brits, with all 3 British riders getting taken out in the Moto2 race. You really couldn't write it, but at the front it was a Spaniard who won, and it was Pedro Acosta continuing his dominance in the Moto2 class. And the Moto3, Scott Ogden, he had his crash as well, so another DNF for a Brit, while Jaime Masia took the race win, with now in Moto3 1 point separating the top 3 riders. So close racing at the weekend. It was a great weekend for the inaugural Indian Grand Prix, and already they look towards this weekend where they'll be heading to Japan.
Wow, it is it's that time of year where it's going to be pretty much breakneck race after race after race, which is good if you like other than motorcycle racing, but bad if you have other things to do, like go shopping at the weekend or have a family or have a life. But don't worry, we've got live race coverage this weekend of BSB, so even if you can't watch it live on Discovery or Eurosport, wherever it is, then you can still listen live to it here on motorsport.radio. More about that later. So Jay, let's start with, I suppose, MotoGP, the biggest bit of news then at the weekend. And should we start on the Saturday with the sprint? Yeah, what did you make of it?
The sprint race, I'm trying to think that far back now. It seemed ages ago. Martin, pretty comfortable win. Would it have been a comfortable win if Bezzecchi hadn't had the collision with his teammate into the first corner? I'm guessing Bezzecchi will say that he was quite lucky to stay on. Martin took quite a comfortable win. But I think the biggest shock of the race was probably seeing Marquez back on the podium, which was it a shock? For me, being a Marquez fan, was really good to see. It was a quite quiet, shall we say, sprint race, but I think if Bezzecchi hadn't had the incident with his teammate, he probably would have won it, but made it for a bit more of an exciting race. So yeah, it was an okay sprint race, not that exciting, but as a Marquez fan, it was really good to see him back on the podium again.
An unusual podium, like Jay said, Lewis, and yeah, he couldn't convert it for the main race and match it. But Jay reckons that he definitely would have got a podium had he not, fallen off.
Yeah, well, on the Saturday, he's shown that he had the pace anyway to be inside the top 3.
On the Saturday,
sadly for Marquez, it's still not classed as an official podium due to the fact it's the MotoGP sprint and it's not technically a race. But Jorge Martin, it was a great result on the Saturday. Obviously, as Jay was saying, the 2 incidents actually at the first corner with, first of all, the VR46 teammates of Marco Bezzecchi and Luca Marini, with basically Bezzecchi moving over and Marini smashing into the back of him. And Luca Marini, he's broken his collarbone from that one, so he's out of action this weekend at Japan, it seems, and he was out of action for the rest of the weekend at India. But Marco Bezzecchi basically went through the field, top 5 position all the way from the back essentially. And as well, on the first corner there was a crash between Stefan Bradl and Paul Espargaro, but it was an alright MotoGP sprint, as Jay said. Not really too much happened in it, but in the actual main race itself on the Sunday, Marco Bezzecchi, he took the race win in that one. I predicted beforehand that he was going to do it. He was incredibly strong on the Saturday pace-wise, and he converted it on seconds was the gap between himself and Jorge Martin. But although it was 8.6 seconds, I think Neil Hodgson said probably the best way of describing the race. It was the most exciting race where someone's won by 8 seconds. I mean, everything else behind Marco Bezzecchi was really kicking off. Jorge Martin and Fabio Quartararo, their battle went down to the last lap with Jorge Martin going round the outside of Fabio Quartararo. An incredible overtake as well, and pretty unexpected, it seems, from Quartararo's end. But Marc Marquez, he had a slight tumble on the Sunday, and he couldn't show that podium pace that Jay was talking about. He looked incredibly strong.
Oh, you make it sound really mild and just a mild tumble, slight.
It was going for quite a while, to be honest, that front end. He was.
I don't think he actually came off the bike, did he? I think he just basically rolled to a stop with it.
Yeah, he was sliding with the bike on top of him, trying to save it with his elbow or his knee, but he couldn't make it work anyway. And Marquez then had come through the field, and he finished 9th in the finish-up. So still a pretty respectable result, to be honest, but he finished for one of the first times. That's probably his
second best result of the season, I reckon.
Yeah, it would have been.
Even though he crashed.
Yeah, exactly. And even whenever he did crash, he only lost a couple of seconds. He didn't lose much. But Joan Mir as well, incredible result from the Repsol Honda rider. The number 2 Repsol Honda rider, I guess you could say. A top 5 finish for him, 5th place in the end. So Honda, for once, looking like they were not obviously a race-winning contender, you wouldn't say, but they looked somewhat comfortable, and they looked like they had somewhat pace this weekend anyway, which was refreshing to see. But I feel like it's still the riders which are making the difference and not the motorcycle.
Your thoughts, Jay?
I think we've totally glossed over the main thing that Bagnaia crashed. I think he had just got past Jorge Martin, and obviously he was looking to just pull a gap on him. He was never going to catch Bezzecchi, but I think he went to try and pull a gap, and you could see from the onboard from Martin, he was just slightly offline, and the front just tucked, and we have seen this from Bezzecchi a few times. I think the last time he did it was in America when he had a pretty comfortable lead. I think he was in the lead. Just thrown it away, and he's making stuff a bit more difficult for himself now. So,
Is the pressure getting to him?
Maybe. I don't know if you heard, but I think it was in an Italian Italian press or something. Jorge Martin, basically, they asked him, will you be helping Bagnaia out? And he basically said, I'm not employed by Ducati. I don't care. I'm going out to win the championship. So, there's Martin's going for it. I mean, he basically said that in a tongue-in-cheek way that he's never been offered the factory ride. I think that's what he's basically saying. So he's like, nah, put myself here and I'm going for it. So, maybe the pressure is getting to Bagnaia a little bit. There's still a lot of races to go. We feel like we're near the end of the season, but there's still so many races to go. And when always with these races in the Asian rounds, you always get a bit of rain, like we did in qualifying in India. So anything can happen. 3 ribs in qualifying 1, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, qualifying 1 right at the end after he set his lap
and
times.
he's already through as well.
Yeah, he was already through, and it was almost a somewhat unneeded crash. But I don't know yet if he'll be back. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Does it take a few days to heal broken ribs? I'm guessing no, but I'm not a superhero.
I think it is going to be hard a week later, because you can't really, where like other things, they get the laser treatment and they go in the chambers to speed it up. You can't really.
There's nothing you can do.
I can't do anything with ribs, so I'll be very surprised if we see Alex Marquez on the grid in Japan. Never know. Marquez might get that dream move early and step in for him.
Well, it is going to happen, and it's going to be announced this weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like Marquez is going to be talking to the Honda management this weekend at Japan, at Motegi. So it sounds like that's going to be why we've had to wait so long for this talk and for this move. It's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, we can see Marquez at the top again. I do believe Marquez is in Gresini, that we'll see him on the podiums and taking the race wins once again. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting weekend at Motegi, like we've seen last year, with whenever Bagnaia was in this situation and was with Quartararo at Motegi. Bagnaia crashed. So really,
and he nearly took out Quartararo.
It was turn 2, I think it was, in the race. So we've seen this time and time again, really, from Bagnaia, whenever he has comfortable leads. At one point in the season, just a couple of rounds ago, he had a 62-point gap in the championship. Now he just has a 13-point gap, and we still have plenty of rounds to go. We have 7 rounds to go, 14 races in total, and now the championship's wide open. And I think personally it's going to go down to the final round now. So if Jorge Martin as well, if he won the championship this year, you would really have to wonder what he would be asking from Ducati next year, for next year's ride, if he would want upgrades earlier, or what. And I think if Jorge Martin as well, if he took the championship this year, he would be the first satellite team rider to win a title since Valentino Rossi in 2001. So it's going to be interesting times ahead in MotoGP, with Bagnaia's gap constantly closing in. Marquez, it seems like the Gresini move is coming closer and closer, and now we're just going to have to wait and see this weekend at Motegi what the conversations are going to be. Yeah.
So, I think we said last week on the show that we're all a bit bored of Marc Marquez's...
it's a different thing each day.
Yeah, contract dramas, and it doesn't help. Sorry, Dawn. It doesn't help.
Did anyone see the Indian fan with a sign saying, Marquez, please join Ducati?
And the camera cut to him.
After they saw the sign, they zoomed in on Marquez's face, and you could see he was trying to keep a straight face, but he did have a little smile on his face right at the end.
It wasn't very subtle,
and then they panned away. But I thought that was hilarious. So, and the guy who had that sign had Rossi hats on, and you're like, Marquez fan with Rossi hats on.
I think the Sunday attendance, or the attendees, were a lot more than what had been there on the Friday and the Saturday, from my basic overview, in and out of consciousness as I was over the weekend. It was a weird one. I thought I'd overslept, like I think for quali on the Saturday, so I'm like, I just woke up without an alarm. I'm like, put the thing on. I'm like, I've missed everything now. And it's like, it's not even started yet. It's like a massive.
I got up every morning and watched every session, so I was very happy with myself. So
well.
It was a good weekend, and Friday and Saturday, to be honest, it did feel a bit of a ghost town at the circuit almost. None of the grandstands were full, but on the Sunday it looked better, at least for the TV. And on the Friday, the official attendance was 17,700 people. The Saturday it was 35,300 people, and on the Sunday it was 58,600 people. And I believe the circuit has about a capacity of 110,000 people. So, I mean, the tickets itself, I don't think came on sale until about a month and a half ago or something like that. So it was really late coming on sale for the Indian fans. So hopefully next year, as they've got the first year out of the way, they can make improvements to the circuit and the way the event was run, because there was a couple of delays throughout the weekend, to say the least. I think there was about an hour delay to sort out the marshals with food and water in between free practice 1 and 2.
That is an important thing that must
be. The carry wasn't.
Yeah. And on the Sunday morning, there was a delay to warm up as well, as one of the vehicles, circuit vehicles, had leaked oil onto turn 1 as well. So some things that need ironed out anyway, but overall it was nowhere near as bad as what everyone was expecting. There was some dramas with visas beforehand, but everyone still made it on time for free practice 1, so really it was no dramas at all. I think the latest person that arrived was Sam Lowe's on Thursday evening, so he was probably a bit jet lagged on the Friday. But overall I really enjoyed actually MotoGP going to India. The actual circuit itself was a technical circuit, and I actually cannot wait till next year where we can.
Is that code for boring?
Have more fans.
You could tell first session FP1 in MotoGP, it was a new track for everyone, because the amount of people that were just going straight into that gravel trap at the first corner, it was just like
throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah, it was just like, Jesus Christ, is anyone actually going to make this turn this weekend? We'll talk about a Moto2 rider who could never make that turn as well, but we'll leave that for later.
Well, yeah, we will get on to talking about... We'll try and fit everything in on the show this evening. Don't know if we've got time to get everyone's opinions in. I will be reading out any comments as well, any nice comments that come in on the comments.
No, they don't have to
below.
be nice.
Well, try and be positive. I mean, it's so easy on the interwebs to just be
Happy
negative
vibes.
and slag people off. But your challenge tonight, if you're tuned in, is to find something good to say about a certain rider. And you've not managed it yet, Jay, have you? Because you
What, say something nice about... Yeah, I have. Marquez rode brilliantly.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
There you go.
Well, for one of the races, which wasn't actually a proper race yet. Sort it out. I mean, we need to sort that out. I mean, if it's a race, it's a race. I mean, we had this discussion when World Superbikes had their Super Pole race, which wasn't a race, which is a race.
I think they class that as a race win, though, in Superbikes, don't they?
They do now, but
Yes.
when it started, they never used to. It was just like it is now in GP.
Okay.
It was just like, yeah, we're going to have a race, but it's not a race, and it's not in this. So,
Yeah, because like the MotoGP contracts, like do they get a win bonus if they win the sprint race? That's probably not in their contracts at the moment, is
No.
it? But,
No.
depends who's, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, MotoGP getting really interesting, and a lot of parallels and similarities to how World Superbikes is going. Because Bautista was leading that by we were thinking we'd have sewn up the championship by now. Not the case, not quite. He keeps making mistakes after mistake after mistake, seemingly. So
Bautista did a Pecco, or a Pecco did a Bautista, whatever way you want to look at
Yeah,
it.
Pecco did a Bautista. We've seen it from Bautista pressure. All glimmers of that, but still he's able to bounce back and take race wins afterwards. So 47 points in the championship with 2 rounds remaining, 6 races. Lester and Jay, is it going to go down to the final round with 47-point gap?
no.
If we're talking like comparison MotoGP to World Superbike, I feel more confident that Bautista will win it than Pecco winning it. So, I think kind of Bautista, he kind of he keeps pushing to his limit, even though he has that big lead. So I think he has got enough in himself to be able to just back it off a bit and still win. Where I feel Pecco is kind of on the limit a little bit just to win. So, yeah, Bautista I think has got a little bit in him to just chill it out if he needs to.
All right, so we're going to talk about Moto2 in just a short second.
Yes.
But first, we have some breaking news that has broken just as we were coming on air, actually. And the news is that...
Marquez has joined Grassini.
Well, I've not heard that news yet. It's been heavily rumoured by a source that something's going to be done this weekend, and I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. But anyway, it's actually regarding BSB news and one of the support classes that Jake Hopper will be racing in the British Supersport class with Swan Racing for the final 2 rounds this weekend at Donington and at Brands Hatch as well. Just wanted to get that in, because normally what happens on this show, we do the show and then 10 minutes later we find out that there's 100 different announcements that's been announced during the show.
Or the next morning.
Or the next morning.
We had one show where everything just happened the next morning, didn't it?
So we were like, should we really do this show on a Wednesday instead? And but anyway, Jake Hopper, it'll be good to see what he can do on a Supersport bike, as I say, with Swan Racing this weekend. Jake Hopper, another Fab Racing graduate as well. It's good to see him there. So yes. Anyway, right, back to MotoGP and Moto2 next. Lewis, headlines from
Lewis can go
Moto2.
first.
I'll start then, rather than Jay, before Jay starts his rant.
I'm going to blow my lid.
But in Moto2 at the weekend, Pedro Acosta he was the race winner. First of all, let's get that out of the way first. He won the race by 3.5 seconds from Tony Arbolino, and Joe Roberts on the podium once again after a battle on the way with Sergio Garcia all the way throughout the race. And actually both the RS racing machines of Zonta van den Gerberg and Barry Baltis had a good weekend this weekend. But all British riders this weekend in Moto2 had an awful weekend, to put it lightly, with Jake Dixon, Rory Skinner and Sam Lowes, all three of them getting taken out in the race, and pretty disastrous stuff, to be honest. Rory Skinner got taken out at the last corner of the last lap. Sam Lowes got taken out by Aaron Canet in the middle part of the race, and near the start of the race, Jake Dixon got taken out by Alonso Lopez. So not a good weekend at all for the British riders, and actually it was a red flagged race. It was a restarted race with a pile up at turn one, which was caused by Jeremy Alcoba on the Gresini bike when he wiped out basically 4 or 5, I think it was 5 bikes in total crashed at turn one, and one of them being Vietti, who ended up I believe breaking the bone anyway, and Chatra as well had issues as well from that crash. But, well, Jay, what one do you want to start on first? What British rider do you want to start talking about?
Let's forget about the Jake Dixon one. Let's talk about the first red flag. So, who was the lad who caused the incident again?
Jeremy Alcoba.
Jeremy Alcoba. What an idiot he was, because he managed to get his bike back, didn't he? Got back for the restart. He got a long lap penalty.
No,
he got one, then didn't do the first one, then went to go do the second one and crashed doing the second one. I mean, that's horrendous, isn't it? To the gravel and just dropped the bike. So, yeah, you can't say much more about that, can we? Before we get on to the main subject, we'll talk about the Sam Lowes ones first. I haven't seen you only saw it on telly from the onboards. But Aaron Canet, what the hell was he doing? He just didn't stop. He just rode into the side of Sam. Fair play at Sam. I haven't heard anything on social media of him reacting or anything like that. But yeah, that was.
He even got helps to pick his bike up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was horrendous. So he completely missed his braking marker and just slammed straight into the side of Sam. Like I said, Sam hadn't had a good weekend, arriving late. I think, did he qualify third row, something like that? So
yeah,
he got a pretty good start, to be fair, and then just got wiped out. And then now we'll talk about the main one, Dixon. Before we even get about the wipeout and that, I felt so sorry for him from the first red flag, because he got a really good start, nearly got wiped out by the person we're going to talk about in a second on the first corner. But he was really aggressive on the first lap, accosted straight back. I thought, well, this is because Jake, the thing that he does struggle with the most is probably his early race pace, and he seemed to have it straight away. Even though what happened, I'm not sure he would have won. I think Acosta would have still had too much pace for him. But then the red flag came out, restarted, and then Alonso Lopez, is this the guy? Yeah, I remember the name. Yeah. Alonso Lopez, he did it exactly the same thing, probably even worse, into the first corner again, like he hadn't learned his lesson whatsoever, inches away from taking out Dixon. And then, what was it, like 4 or 5? Was it on the first lap he did clear him out, shall I say, or was it lap 2? I think it was about lap 2 or 3, weren't it?
Yeah.
And he did it again, and it's not the first meeting he's done it. He's done it a few other meetings as well, and how he's got away with it and never had, and even a long lap penalty is ridiculous. Fair play to Jake. He's learned his lesson from the Darren Binder incident at Silverstone. He's kept his mouth shut, been really polite, been really quiet, but I think he's probably had a bit of advice like, you need to chill it out a bit here. But I'm going to do it all for Jake here. Lorenzo Lopez, you utter idiot. That's all I'm going to say. The quicker he's out of the MotoGP paddock, the better, because he doesn't seem to care at all either. He has no sorry. You never hear him apologising or anything like that. Your turn now, Lewis. I've done my bit.
Yeah, well, that was a lot. hugely passionate, obviously.
Sorry
it was
if you're
disappointing
watching.
to say that.
Even if it wasn't Jake, even if it wasn't a British person, I would have felt exactly the same. But to go into those first two corners the way he did, he was never making those first two corners. And then he wiped him out.
Yeah, it seems like the first corner on both the original start and the restart, he braked a second or two after everyone else, and that was his objective, just to hit the front for half a second until he ran wide. He did it to Dixon, obviously, and Dixon lost only lost one or two positions on the original restart by getting held up, but on the restart of the red flagged race, he almost wiped Dixon out. He ended up wiping him out in the race. Initially, he wasn't given a penalty for it, and then after the race was completed, they then changed it to a double long lap penalty because it was his third offence with irresponsible riding. So
he has got a double long lap penalty at
Yes, at Motegi. Yes, he's got a double long lap penalty for Motegi. And actually, talking about long laps, as you mentioned with Jeremy Alcoba crashing on the long lap, it was somewhat embarrassing of a crash. Interestingly, though, the long lap penalty at the circuit, it was completely painted. Even the black section of the long lap penalty, which looked like tarmac, that was just black paint. So, I mean, I'm not saying it was because of the paint, but I'm giving them a small bit of leeway, although he should have just took the original long lap penalty. I don't know why he didn't. And of course, Rory Skinner as well. He was taken out on the final corner of the final lap by Kaito Nozane.
At least he looked sorry for it. He was already apologising to Rory before he stopped moving. Yeah,
Alonso Lopez, he just looked at Dixon and rode away with it. And let's just say there was a couple unhappy TNT reporters on the TV afterwards, if you wouldn't have guessed. But yeah, it was a weekend to forget. I mean, by the time Skinner got taken out, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't write it that is even possible. Every single Brit taken out by another rider. So incredibly disappointing. And I
think we all agree now. I think that's Dixon's title.
Dixon's championship now is over.
He's literally just got to go out there and just get wins now.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it was clutching at straws almost going into this round, but there was still obviously a chance. Now leaving this round, he is 90 points back on Pedro Acosta, and Pedro Acosta is not really a man to make too many mistakes. Obviously injuries can happen, and we do have a couple triple headers and double headers coming up, but I don't see that point gap coming down anyway anytime soon. So yeah, Jake Dixon, not the way we would have wanted it, not the way any British fans, riders, TV, media, anyone would have wanted it to happen, but it's one of those things. They move on to Motegi. He's had good finishes in Motegi in the past, so hopefully we can see Dixon at the front once again. And maybe, who knows, now that he knows championships unrealistic totally now, we might just go out there and just win it and beat Alonso Lopez.
Yeah. I'm not. I think I'm done now. I'm not going to say it before I get too angry.
You were very polite with him, Jay. It's not exactly what you said before we came on air.
I managed to hold the swear words in.
Okay.
It was idiotic.
Yes. Shout out to Joe Roberts. A really good ride. It was a really good race with Garcia. I mean, bit of elbow bashing, but it was all really clean. But yeah. It was good to see Joe Roberts. I think that's his. God knows when his last podium was.
I do. Okay, you answered that then.
Yeah, it was good to see.
I was going to ask you a question. When was his last podium? Magello, I know that one. Okay, well, thanks anyway. Next.
I'll keep my mouth shut next time.
I was talking to Liam earlier, Hodgins, and I asked, when was the last time Joe Roberts or when was the last American, who was the last American to get a podium? And it was Joe Roberts at Mugello last year, and that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, another question. Who was the non-Joe Roberts last American?
Oh,
that I really don't know. That's a genuine question.
I reckon it probably will go all the way back to Nicky Hayden, I reckon.
Yeah.
Ben Speed?
No, Ben Speed, yeah.
Yeah, probably Ben Speed, yeah.
Okay, if you do, genuine question, I don't know the answer. If anyone is listening...
Are we talking all three classes? Are we talking...
Yeah. In Moto 2.
In Moto 2.
Moto 2. He's probably the only
he's the only... Yeah, he's... Yeah.
So Joe Roberts is the only person?
in Moto2, to get a podium, 100%.
He's the only.
Beaubier came very close, but he never did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Sorry, what was you? Someone was saying something, Jay.
He was the first race winner in the intermediate class in the Grand Prix race in Portimao when he got his race win in the red flagged race there when the rain fell. I can't remember who it was. It was back in the 90s anyway, so it was a massive gap for Joe Roberts. So yeah, Joe Roberts seems to be the man to watch. I think, though, if Cameron Beaubier stayed in Moto2 this year, we would have seen him on the podium, but I guess we'll never know.
I think it was the last race in Valencia he was in a podium position and he crashed, I think.
Yeah.
Before he left. So, it was sad to see him go, really. I thought he had a lot of potential, but I think my brother got on quite well with him because he was Alpine Star, and he did say he was very homesick, so that's why he went back to America.
Okay, interesting stuff. Well, let us know. Certainly, if you have the answer to when the last non-Joe Roberts American was
in all three classes.
Well, I guess if Let us know. Just a bit of curiosity. Since MotoGP have removed all the stats from their websites, can't actually go and check now. Not that I don't think that was a stat on the website. It's more of a you need to be a nerd kind of stat to know it. But anyway.
I reckon it's Ben Speeds.
Quite possibly. Yeah, maybe. So, Moto2 then, coming into the next race. What's the points gap now? It's 30...
It's a big gap now for Acosta, I think. I think it's over a race win
points. Now. Yeah, 39 points coming into the next race. And like you say, Dixon, probably adrift now, but he can be the best of the rest, hopefully. And
I think he can still. I think third is well in grasp, shall I say?
It was. The names just came to me now. Sorry. I believe it was the Joe Roberts win in Portimao last year. I believe it was the first American Intermediate Grand Prix winner since John Kaczynski in 1992, something like that. So
on a Kajiva, I reckon that would have been.
Yeah, the 250 class. So,
wow. Okay.
A long time anyway, waiting in the intermediate class. Never mind Moto2 with Joe Roberts, I assume, but I can't think of any other American that's ever been on the podium. Cameron Beaubier, he was actually pretty close to a podium last season in America, but he ended up either crashing out or just having a very bad race. But but he qualified in the front row anyway, and it looked like he had the pace for it. But yeah, Joe Roberts, the only rider on the Moto2 class anyway that's American.
All right, so what's going to happen in the this weekend's race in Moto2 then? Could Jake Dixon maybe get another pole position or put it on the front row maybe and have some good luck for a change?
I think being a Japanese race, I think Aigura is going to be very up for it, isn't he?
What makes you say that?
Home race, Japanese team, Japanese rider. He's going to be all up for it. So I'm going to go maybe a home Aigura win for this one. So
okay.
Where did he come this weekend? I think he crashed, didn't he?
Yeah, Aigura ended up crashing near the start of the race, and then also his teammate Chantra, who was actually one of the few riders that had raced on the good circuit before this back in 2016 when the Asian Road Race Championship went there. And actually, another fun fact, Anthony West as well holds a lap record around this circuit in the 600 class. So, but Chantra was racing at that same time in the championship, so he had some extra experience going into the weekend. It showed because he was inside the top 10 pretty much throughout the whole weekend. It had a slightly disappointing qualifying, but qualifying it was mixed conditions. It was pretty tricky conditions for everyone when Jake Dixon, of course, got that pole position, but potentially another good weekend could be in store. This is certainly whenever we go to as well Thailand. Chantra, he always goes well there. Chantra is actually almost a sporting hero in Thailand. There's big signs of his name on it. Loads of fans for the Moto2 rider, which is always great to see. But it's going to be an exciting weekend. I don't know what the weather forecast is looking like just yet at Motegi, because we've seen in the past,
it rains.
it rains, and when it rains, it's always really, really hard. And actually, we've seen that in India this weekend with the massive rain delay before the MotoGP sprint and qualifyings as well.
Okay. Just out of interest, you said West got or previously had the lap record around the Bud International Circuit. Did you get that stat from fastestlaps.com?
No, I got it from looking at the Wikipedia from the 2016 Road Racing Championship. Okay.
Fair enough. Just checking. All right. Moto 2 then. And have we said everything? Have you got everything off your chest now, guys?
I feel a lot more.
I can still see some steam coming out Jay's ears, but I think,
it's turned your hair white. Your rage, Jay. I shouldn't say.
Alonso Lopez. Hopefully it'll probably be in BSB in a couple of years' time.
Wow. Well, I think you'll find BSB is only full of talented racers.
Yeah. But anyway, let's talk Moto 3 before I say anything else.
Moto 3 then. And, headlines, Lewis. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Moto 3 at the weekend, first of all, in a delayed
Someone
start.
got away.
Yeah, in a delayed start to qualifying, first of all, Masia got pole position in that one, and he converted it into a race win. And as Jay said, he got away from the pack, and it was over 5 seconds, which is a lifetime away. Yeah, in Moto 3. From Kaito Toba as well on the Honda. So Kaito Toba at the front once again, and it's a really great surprise.
As long as John McPhee, hasn't he? He's been
there a long time. Been also at the back of the field for quite some time in his career, but it's great to see him at the front once again in the Moto3 class. And Sasaki, he claimed the podium positions after a dramatic last lap with his teammate where he pulled a move, took Colin Vire out, and it was pretty much fireworks in the garage. And now the championship leader going into this round, Danny Holgado, he had a disastrous weekend for his standards anyway in qualifying. He was all the way, he didn't even make it to Q2, I don't believe, did Holgado, and he finished 4th place in the race after a pretty good race from himself. But Holgado still losing points to his championship rivals as well. So good a pretty close Moto3 championship at the moment. Scott Ogden as well, what I'll mention for him, he ended up high-siding and taking another rider down at the weekend as well. That was Suzuki that he took out at the weekend. He was very lucky with that one after he was clipped by Suzuki's bike. But now in Moto3, it couldn't get any closer physically, actually, because in Moto3 the championship gap is 0 points separating Danny Holgado and Masia, and as well Sasaki in 3rd position. He's just 1 point behind, so the top 3 riders in Moto3 at the moment are separated by 1 point. The top 2, nothing separating them, they're tied on points. So extremely exciting from Moto3, a great weekend from them, and you cannot call who's going to take this title. And
I don't think Sasaki's won a race this season, has he yet?
No, it's been Mr. Consistency all the way throughout the season for Sasaki.
Yeah, obviously he is Japanese, isn't he? I believe. Is he coming into his home? So once again, he's been in this class a long while now, hasn't he? I think he's been here. I think since 2018. I think.
Yeah, it was something along that lines.
So he's been in this class a long while now. But he's going to go into his home round as well. Obviously, there's quite a few Japanese in the Moto3 class. So it's gonna be hopefully a good round for the Japanese. I could expect to see a Japanese winner again in so we're going to have a Japanese
exactly how it works,
what do you call Taka Nakagami's going to win the MotoGP race as well. I think we're going to get a Japanese clear out.
We did have at the weekend in the Moto3 class, we did have 2 Japanese riders on the podium in Moto3, so it was very close to getting a Japanese lockout, although the next Japanese rider, which I believe would be Yamanaka, he was all the way down in 15th position, so I think we'll have to pray pretty hard for that one. But a lot of Japanese riders in Moto3. And actually, at the weekend, there was 2 new riders in the Moto3 class as well, with the wildcard riders.
Oh yeah, did one of them fail to qualify?
Sadly, not all of them made it to the starting grid, yes. But massive shame from him.
Who was that?
Yassine Ahmed didn't make it to qualifying even, because he didn't finish within the 110% in any of the free practice sessions. Therefore, he was not qualified for the race. So his fastest lap was 206.4, and the next rider in front of him, which would be Ana Carrasco, was doing 201s, so about 5 seconds away from the last rider. So it just shown really how competitive the Moto3 class is and how tricky it is to step in with a new bike,
is
new
Ana
team,
Carrasco
new
the bar now? Basically, if you're ahead of Ana Carrasco, then you're in the race. Is that?
Yeah, well, the Malaysian wildcard rider was as well. Obviously, both of them were under the Petronas MIE Honda / MLAV Racing banner at the weekend. So really, I think it was just Michael working with the MIE guys. Well, what's left of the MIE guys? Well, the other guys, the main guys at the team anyway, were at Aragon for the World Superbike round. So definitely a different setting for them anyway. So it was always going to be tricky, but a shame to see them not qualifying. Actually, that's 2 weekends in a row across all 3 classes where we've had at least one rider throughout the weekend not qualify for the race, because we've seen it at the last round as well with MotoGP. So yeah, disappointing for that one, but it's what it is.
It is what it is. Jay, and what was it for you, Moto3?
It wasn't spread out, but for a Moto3 race, it was spread out. Apart from the battle for second place, which I felt a bit sorry for Colin Via, because I thought, I don't know if like the stewards this weekend were asleep or something like that, because all the penalties they normally would have given out, they didn't seem to give any out. Because I thought on that last lap with Sasaki, I thought, he's not keeping this third place.
To be fair, they did go back and rectify some of their decisions.
He ain't keeping this, or at least get a penalty to lose seconds, even though he wouldn't have dropped to fourth. But yeah, I was really stunned that he didn't get a penalty. I think Lewis agrees with me again. I saw it and I was like, this is not right.
It wasn't as bad as clear. It wasn't a clear case. I think you could almost give some sort of an argument from both sides.
Most of his bike was
but at the end of the day, he was always going to run wide out that corner. He wasn't making the apex from that corner. But the main thing that bothers me is obviously the inconsistencies. I mean, fair enough. If you're not going to say it's a podium, if you're not going to say it's a penalty, you want them just to race, make hard moves, then that's all good. I don't think too many people are going to be complaining about that. But the issue is the fact that they're given penalties for one thing, and then a somewhat similar incident, or sometimes even worse incident happens, and then they either get nowhere near as harsh of a penalty or no penalty at all. So there's still some inconsistencies anyway within the stewards panel, it seems.
So we've got those top 3 between a point in it, between the top 3 in the Moto3 Championship. I think there's still some underneath. I think Dennis Onchu's not far off them, even though he had a terrible weekend.
Yeah,
he didn't pay attention to a black flag or something.
Yeah, well,
like that, didn't he?
Dennis Onchu
crashed coming into the pits.
Yeah, he crashed coming into the pits. He high-sided after he went over the white line going into the pit lane, and he dented actually the front fairing. It was quite strange. It wasn't cracked, it was just completely dented inwards, and he hurt his wrist, it looked like, and he went back out maybe 10 minutes later, and I assume maybe they didn't think he was fit to ride in the rest of the session.
But the medical centre.
He did go to the medical centre. The black flag, but at the end of the day, in his eyes, it was his last chance to get through inside the top 14, to get through straight away to Q2, so he just ignored it and went on with his business. And then he ended up getting a balking for it. So they weren't happy with him anyway, to say the least. And we've seen it as well.
He scored out 2 points, didn't he? I think he came from 14.
It was a strange weekend for him because even before that, he wasn't, even in all three practice sessions, he wasn't quick. He wasn't his normal self, and he was getting frustrated in the box, and they ended up finished 14 seconds. And actually, some big names were further down the order this weekend, but it wasn't a normal weekend. It was a brand new circuit, and it was a level playing field where we could see some of our rookies like Farioli in the Tech Free bike, a rookie this season. He was able to almost get inside the top 10 and was behind Rueda as well. So it was a real mix this weekend of where riders were. Ricardo Rossi as well, who's actually recently signed to go to the CF Moto team next year. So looks like it's going to be a change of machinery for him in the 2024 season. He finished 7th as well, so Ricardo Rossi inside the top 10. So we see some riders that maybe you wouldn't expect at the front at every single race, fighting for good points this weekend. So yeah, it was, as I said earlier on, it was a slightly spaced out race for Moto3 standards, but the track, I mean, the track grew and made more and more every single session. There's clearly some improvements that need to be made, but overall it's not a bad circuit anyway, to say the least. It was quite refreshing to see a circuit with a bit of character on it, shall we say, in the Grand Prix calendar.
Well, maybe I've got my opinion tainted because in my brain it's a Formula
F1
One track, and
we used a slightly different layout to F1.
Yeah, they didn't do the outside loop on the whatever turn it was. They did a tighter thing. But I'd completely forgot, in my head, I'd completely forgot what the track looked like. I thought I knew what it looked like. But then I was watching it on TNT and I'm thinking, where's the bit where thingy in the Formula One? And I'm like, because all the F1 tracks since like 2010 or 2009, all of the new ones, they're all kind of look the same. And I think I was getting mixed up with Korea. But that's not my fault, because all the tracks look the same with the massive, long, stupid straights. And I don't think that adds anything to the racing. Maybe, I don't know, stick a chicane in there for safety, you know.
The Formula One go to Vegas this season, or is that next season?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, track... Yeah, there's
I know
been
people have gone. They say it's a bit of a building site, Vegas, at the moment.
There's been some interesting tracks getting built or have been built in the past couple of years, mainly for F1, but slightly different layout anyway this weekend. 10 years ago it would have been, since they were last there in 2013. I still really enjoyed the weekend. They did their best anyway to spruce up the track as much as they could before the Grand Prix paddock arrived. Slightly different layout to the F1 guys, different shorter loop, I guess you could say, at turn 8 and 9. It would have been the banked corner as well, which is pretty spectacular to see on the TV. And actually, I think Sylvain Gintoli basically called it pretty well, and basically said it's as if Sepang and Portimao had a baby almost. So yeah, you could definitely see, certainly Sepang, the most similarities in the circuit. Certainly the first corner and last corner is very, very reminiscent of Sepang, and also the grandstand and the start-finish straight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it became sort of an insider joke, really, amongst Formula One communities, that new circuits, because Herman Tilke, who designed all of these things, basically started to run out of ideas. So he started literally copying bits of track from other sections of track, just like Circuit of the Americas, where literally all the bits of track there are made up of other stolen bits of corners, like Silverstone and I think Suzuka and other bits of stuff. And it kind of works well when it works, but I'm just not a big fan of these boring, long, massive straights. They don't work in car racing. They don't really work in bike racing. It just doesn't really work.
So how would you overall rate the circuit for MotoGP?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Probably 5.
And why?
Because I think it's got a lot of potential, but it didn't show a lot of that potential at the weekend. It was nice to see something different, but I think we could see something a lot better. I mean, if, for example, there was to be a nice bit of like chicane in that back straight, just break it up a bit, just for the sake of racing and to close the pack up, that might be better, I think. What do you think?
Add chickens. Yeah. I get what you mean. Yeah. Certainly for Moto3 anyway. Moto3, I don't know, I think the long straights, they almost help in Moto3 try to bunch up the pack, and it was a pretty long straight. To be honest, I didn't realise actually how long the straight was at the bid circuit until they went out there, and it's not until you watch an onboard that you realise how long it actually goes on for.
It's the camera angle that was from the top corner, and then they were showing it all the way down.
Yes.
Impressive of how long it was.
Yeah, when basically you have to have 3 cameras all on the straight, because you can't have, I mean, these cameras can like have 110 times zoom on them, and even they couldn't quite pick up the furthest part of the straight, so you had to have like multiple different cameras all along the straight. So with my TV producer hat on, I was like, that's too much. Sort it out, guys. Imagine cabling that. Anyway, Jay, what do you reckon of the circuit layout overall? Good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down?
I think it was, for a modern-ish track, shall we say, I thought it was really good. I'm still a fan of the old school tracks, so like your Phillip Islands, Mugello's, tracks like that, which are very fast-flowing tracks. I think they're still the best track. I think as a track for really good racing, even though facilities and everything around the track is pretty horrendous, but as a track for brilliant racing, we always get probably the best racing at Phillip Island. Also, even though they have adjusted it over the years, we always get really good racing at Assen as well. So probably Assen, Mugello and Phillip Island are my 3 favourites.
Well, John Murdoch's been on and he's tuned in. Hello, good evening, John. He says he can't wait for Phillip Island. So yeah, echoing your thoughts there. So
yeah, Phillip Island's always, the racing we get in all 3 classes there is normally really, really close, especially Moto3. Normally the whole grid stays together normally. Normally
18 riders, 20 riders battling on the last lap isn't uncommon at Phillip Island. And in MotoGP, 6-7 bikes can be fighting on the last lap. So yeah, Phillip Island's great. So is Assen, so is Mugello. But one thing those 3 tracks really have in common is there's not many stop-start corners on Assen. Maybe there's 1 or 2 corners that you do have to go quick into second, first gear. But all in all, certainly compared to somewhere like Circuit of the Americas, which has so many stop corners, there's only like 1 section of the whole Kota circuit that I actually think is okay. The rest of it I would happily throw in the bin. But Assen, Mugello and
you hear that, America? Lewis is ragging on your circuit.
There's better circuits to go to. I mean, just go back to Laguna, but yeah, that's going to cost a lot of money to get that track safe. And I actually don't know if that would create great racing nowadays with how narrow it is. But all those circuits are fast and flowing, don't have many stop-start corners. And overall, yeah, I was India this weekend. There was some flowing sections. There was a couple of corners where it was start-stop, like we've seen in Sepang as well. I would probably give the circuit myself probably 6.5, 7-ish, around that area. Jay, do you have a rating for yourself?
I'd go 7. Yeah, I think for a modern track, it was very good. There are some other modern tracks that I'm not really a fan of.
When you say modern, is that as in like not as much used as other tracks? Because it's not actually a new track, as I keep saying. It's not.
It's not new, is it? But like compared to Mugello, Phillip Island, that have been there, I don't know, since black and white TV days, that it is a modern track, isn't it? So maybe I'm getting a bit
It's a new style
old,
circuit, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like the old-fashioned track. Obviously, us coming from watching BSB and that, 90% of our tracks are really old-school tracks, probably apart from Snetterton, which is technically an old-school track, it's only because they completely redid it. All of our tracks are really old-school tracks, so it's probably, being English, we do like the old-school tracks.
Fair enough. Okay. So if you tuned in, let us know. Did you really enjoy the Indian Grand Prix and the brand new actual circuit?
It can definitely stay on the calendar. Definitely can stay on the calendar. There's other ones I would rather get rid of.
One of the many Spanish ones. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Valencia, get it gone.
Oof.
Well, let Lewis go watch and then get it gone.
Yeah, you can stay for this year.
But it's quite cheap. You can stay a whole week in Valencia, go and watch the race for about the same price as you could go to Silverstone. Isn't that right, Lewis?
Didn't we say that the Indian track, or was it the Thailand track, was the cheapest one?
Well,
India.
The Indian Grand Prix. Technically, at the track or in the car park, wherever, you could have got a cheap flight to India, got a cheap ticket at the track, got some street food, as I believe it's called.
What, in India?
That's risky.
Or food, as it's called in India.
And I definitely wouldn't get a taxi because my brother sent me some of the videos of the roads, and I definitely wouldn't want to be getting in a taxi.
Oh, how is your brother anyway? Did he get the shits?
I haven't spoken to him since after. I'll have to have
because he was really worried. Apparently, he was just
yeah. I didn't hear of any riders having problem with Delhi belly or anything like that. To be fair,
they probably had special cooks in the hospitality units making them
pasta,
fish and chips,
pasta.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone was sent out for like a local curry. I think it was all them European
none of them
curries.
went out and got a takeaway. No.
Or just food, as it's called in India.
Actually, non-food, sadly, and non-motor-free related. Obviously, Jay, you've got some connections within the Alpine Star world.
Oh, yes.
Do you know, or have you heard, what actually happened, if there was any malfunctions with Jorge Martin's?
I didn't really thinking, because obviously we saw at the end of the race, Martin was really struggling with exhaustion or maybe just overheat. I didn't know if he had done because I saw it before the commentators saw it. I didn't know if he had deliberately done it to get a bit of air in. But yeah, I don't know. I totally forgot about that.
Well, that was a big concern ahead of the race, so much so that all the riders got together and
reduced the race by 3 laps.
Yeah. So I didn't know if Martin had deliberately pulled down his levers a bit to get a bit of air in, but we did see on the onboard when he did a really good job to be able to pull it back up and get it behind the tag on the levers, to be fair, because that's hard doing that just on a pit bike, let alone doing it on a MotoGP bike that does like 230 miles an hour. So yeah, fair play Martin, how he managed to get hold of that zip and pull it back up
while going round the corner.
Yeah, that was pretty good, to be fair.
What was the penalty from, was it last year or the year before, when Quartararo did the same thing? That might.
I don't think he got one in the end.
Yeah, he got one. He got one in the end. He got a fine and a penalty. But the penalty was
because that was for literally the same thing. So
yeah.
What was the difference between that and this?
I don't know. I'm guessing the Stewarts must have thought, oh, well, he's corrected it. He zipped it up, so it's fine. Quartararo, on the other hand, he threw out his chest protector onto the circuit and then continued to ride around until the race was finished, when they should have got a black flag, to be honest. But Jorge Martin, I think that was the main question while we seen it, and then straight after, the main question was, is he going to get a penalty? If not, why is he not going to get a penalty? Because it says in the regulations that your suit, everything needs to be fastened up correctly. But maybe they just gave him some leeway because he corrected it.
Staying on the Jorge Martin, when he came into the pits, I mean, he was dead. Absolutely.
He gave it everything.
Yeah. I mean, that last lap, he made that mistake, and Fabio, well, he did get past him, but he literally straight back round the outside to get back through. But he came in the pits, and it was very... Lewis might be a bit young, but it was very Casey Stoner-esque, and I think about 2008 when Casey Stoner started getting this illness that kind of finished his career. It was very like that.
He was just done.
Yeah, I don't think Jorge Martin's got this illness, but it was obviously because of the heat, exhaustion, and he was collapsed pretty much, didn't he? They were just getting
you could understand why it was I mean, not even just Jorge Martin. You've seen, for example, Joan Mir, as soon as he came in the pit box, he was getting water basically chucked all over him. You can completely understand why the race was reduced 3 laps. And actually, could Jorge Martin make it that extra 3 laps if it kept the same race distance? Because we see them run wide. Was that because of exhaustion, just a lack of focus?
I reckon it was just even just a basic thing. Or you think the speeds they're coming down from down that straight, just a simple thing of grabbing the brake. I mean, if your body's just finished, then even a simple thing like that, well, it isn't simple, but it was done. It's absolutely done. So yeah, fair play to him. He managed to get it to the end and still get that second place, and we don't know how vital that second place is going to be at the end of the season now.
Well, perhaps a lot of things like that could be put down to the extreme heat and temperatures at the weekend, maybe.
And I'm guessing it's going to be the same in Japan this weekend, because they're not a million miles away. Even though, like we said, we normally do see quite a bit more rain at the Japanese Grand Prix.
Well, I don't think you could have seen more rain than what happened on the Saturday for qualifying in India. But,
in Moto3, yeah.
Yeah, that's... anyway. But yeah, the championship rolls on this weekend, and then it's one after that is Indonesia after that in a couple of weeks' time, and then it's
they have 1 week off.
Yeah, 1 week off, and then it's Australian Grand Prix straight after that, and then straight after that it's the Thai Grand Prix, and then they have 1 week off, or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. They have 2 weeks off in between.
Because Qatar is not the first round, wasn't the first round this year. Is that in the dark again this year, or will that be?
Yeah.
No, I think they put the lights on.
Yeah. In the evening, anyway. Normal time, 5 o'clock race for us. It should be held under the lights once again in Qatar. And then it's going to be a tricky end to the season. I mean, as you were saying, Lester, how jam-packed the calendar is to the end of the year. No matter who you are in the paddock, it's going to be a rush to the end of the season, especially if you're going to every single race, because they're going from Malaysia to Qatar and then back to Europe for the final round 3 weeks in a row. That's going to be tough for them. That's going to be pretty exhausting, to be honest, but it's going to be interesting to see how the riders cope with that. If one injury, like we've seen with, obviously he's not a championship contender, but Luca Marini, how long is he going to be out for? Alex Marquez, even if he does return this weekend, that might have a knock-on effect. His crashing Q1 for a couple of weekends' time, losing vital points. That could be 4 races that he's essentially injured for. So it's at this point in the season where every single point matters, every single injury matters as well. So you really have to use your head at this point in the season and try to be level-headed at these tricky circuits, which it's not like your Jerez or Catalonias where riders have spun thousands of laps around it. You come to circuits which they've not been to since last season at the same time of year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it all unfold. Of course, this weekend at Japan, I'm going to have to wake up early at Donington Park to be able to watch it.
Oh, you're going to Donington as well, eh?
Yeah,
we're all going to be there.
Oh, right.
We're all going to be there. Trio.
I'm going to be there.
Even Wendy's coming this weekend.
Even Wendy's going to be there. So, is she signing autographs?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
So, well, fair enough. But yeah, it should be a good one. BSB, Alton, Donington. I don't even know where we're going.
I can't miss the end of this BSB season. I've got to watch it live. It's going to be hectic.
Yeah, well, if you can't be there or watch it live, you can listen to it on Motorsport Radio. Tune in, live coverage with Duncan Vincent.
What channel is it on this weekend?
Oh, don't start. It's on the Discovery Plus app.
Discovery Plus, yeah.
Discovery Plus.
Always there.
And a television channel of their choosing. But yeah, don't start the internet off. Anyway, right, so MotoGP 2 and 3 aside for the time being. On to another exciting and entertaining couple of races at the weekend. Aragon, Spain, World Superbikes. And, Lewis, a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot happened at Aragon, and now the championship once again is coming down and leaving Aragon 47-point gap between Bautista and Toprak Razgatlioglu after Bautista crashed in race 1 and handed the race victory to his teammate Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Toprak Razgatlioglu and Jonathan Ray was on the podium in that one. And in the Super Bowl race, actually, much like race 1, it was 3 riders at the front duking away, and it was really impressive to watch. But this time Bautista managed to get the better of them with Ray and Razgatlioglu behind. It basically went down to the last lap. We all thought that we're going to be in for a great show in race 2, but in race 2, slightly different to what maybe we were expecting, with Bautista winning by quite a comfortable gap, to be honest, from Toprak Razgatlioglu, and it was 4 seconds at the line, and then Michael Ruben Rinaldi in third. But in race 2, obviously the main talking points, I would say, is going to be all about Andrea Locatelli as well, from that 3 riders. He was riding well, and yeah, well, obviously the championship's closing in. Toprak Razgatlioglu was stuck behind his teammate for a number of laps. They were saying over the...
a bit slow.
His bike seemed slow in a straight line, or Locatelli's seemed faster in a straight line anyway, that's for sure. You have to wonder if maybe they're giving them better parts of the season, or if it just was a bad day. But whatever the case, Locatelli, his engine didn't last the whole race, no matter how fast it was. His engine went pop, and he then got the meatball flag. He then came off the circuit
and went back
on the circuit. So yeah, it was a really interesting one. Yeah, he should have got a telling off, because it was very, very stupid.
The marshal should have stopped him at that.
The marshal should have stopped him, but instead he then proceeded on, and even on the back straight, when he noticed that he was completely smoking away, he then carried on to ride into the pit lane. So there could have been anything dropped in that circuit. Luckily there wasn't, at least. And Bautista managed to take the race win in a full race distance. And as well, talking about bikes going pop, Danilo Petrucci, his bike also went pop throughout the weekend, and his Ducati suffered a mechanical issue and smoked him away. So now we're really at this point of the season in World Superbikes where the parts that are on them are starting to get worn in, and almost they need an extra engine in their allocations, but they can't do it, or they're trying to save it anyway. And now we're at the point where we're seeing mechanical failures. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in Portimao, and of course Jerez now, not Argentina, after the calendar was changed. They're heading to Portimao this weekend for a double header for the World Superbike guys. But you have to wonder, Jay, is the pressure starting to get to Bautista, and are we starting to see 2019 Bautista, where he was making mistakes with a comfortable championship lead?
It was that first race on Saturday. I didn't watch it. I've only seen the highlights. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird crash that Bautista had. He was just starting to pull that gap. I think he probably got about 2 seconds into the lead. And it was a very Marquez crash where he kind of didn't come off the bike. And he kind of slid with the bike, pretty much landed next to the marshals, picked it up, went again, managed to get it back into the points, and then had another crash. So... I think he was just, pushing on, maybe didn't realise the gap that he had, but just pushed on a bit too much. I'm still feeling confident that Bautista will go on and win the championship. I think he does have a little bit in hand over everyone else. He's a really good rider. He's on the best bike, and he weighs nothing. So down those straights, he just leaves everyone for dead. So I'm still confident Bautista will win the championship. Yes, the pressure is still there slightly. Toprak is really, really good round Portimao, but it does have that long start and finish, which is going to be difficult for him.
And, well, obviously at the weekend, actually last week, just after the show had finished, it must have been the day after, on the Wednesday. We haven't spoke about it just yet, but it's World Superbike related, so we'll mention it quickly at the moment. And that is Scott Reddin announcing his switch next year to the Bonovo Action BMW team, the satellite BMW team. And well, at the weekend, first of all, Scott Reddin, he didn't have the best of rounds, to say the least.
He fell off a ladder in the week or something.
Yeah, he fell off a ladder during the week. And but that was the official line on the comms anyway. And was like he's walked under a ladder to get that switch next season. There was a lot of talk whether if he would go to Mark VDS, but they're only running one bike, if maybe he was in talks of Kawasaki, or if he was going to stick with that factory BMW team instead. He's got a fourth option, which is free, and that's to go to the Bonovo Action BMW team. So, Jay, how surprised were you to see that Redden's going to the satellite BMW team next season to likely replace Baz?
Yeah, a little disappointed, shall I say. I think he would have been hoping minimum to be still in the factory BMW team, really. But yeah, quite shocked, really. So we've still got an open position at Kawasaki now, which looks like Bassani might get, by the sounds of it, with the rumours that are, I don't know if that's confirmed, but
there was, it was talks of it, and also there was talks both on TNT's commentary and Eurosports that Michael Ruben Rinaldi's in talks with ride. Yeah, in talks of Gursini for their Moto2 seat.
Which would be, I would like to see it, because it'd be interesting to see how a World Superbike rider would get on. Obviously, it's not going to MotoGP, but it'd be interesting to see how he would get on. And I think that would be good just for general in the sport, because if Rinaldi does well, then maybe more World Superbike riders would get the opportunity to move up, and they wouldn't just look at the Moto3 grid, they would look further out, shall we say.
Would you pick... Or would you pick any other rider? Would Rinaldi be your top pick in the World Superbike class to get that move up? Because obviously he's 27-year-old.
Because it's Moto2, you have to look at a youngish rider.
He's 27, the same age as Jake Dixon, and there's talks of him making his debut next season. So it's old for Moto2 standards to make your debut.
So I don't think Top Rack would be interested in Moto2. So out of them, it probably is. Maybe Bassani would have been. I don't know how old he is. If you can get that up on your stats, Lewis. But maybe he would have been a good option as well to look into it. But I think, probably is the best. I would say the best for that class, to be honest with you. He seems to have a lot of good sponsors to be able to get even involved in these rides.
Yeah, Bassani's 24, so a couple of years younger than Rinaldi.
So probably them two would probably be my favourites, but Bassani's going to be very happy if he gets that factory Kawasaki ride, because I think that's what he wants, is a factory ride.
Interesting. I've just been flicking through some information.
Also, going back to our good old friend, who I know he's Lester, he's a massive fan. I haven't seen, as World Superbikes and MotoGP did that thing where it says riders confirmed for next year, and obviously there's only one spot in MotoGP now left, and that's probably going to be taken by Marcus, or there will be Honda seats free anyway. But I didn't see our good friend Ian One's picture, so it hasn't been confirmed yet, has it?
He's signed, I believe, to race for Ducati next year, but they haven't announced what team he's going to be racing for on the Ducati. But it sounds like it's going to be the Go 11 team, and Otto's going to be getting the boot after finishing 6th place at the weekend in race 1 anyway. So, and 7th place in race 2, so Otto having a good weekend, but it seems like it's too little too late.
Ian One do better.
For reference, I did invite Ian One onto the show.
Didn't get a reply, no?
No reply. Let me just check, actually. I sent him an email, or I sent his people an email, and I also sent on Instagram as well. I said, I don't even think it's been read yet, so.
What a surprise.
Well, it is.
I reckon it probably went to the junk mail, Lester.
I doubt that, but anyway.
Oh, can you imagine the views we would get if we got Ian One on? It'd be amazing.
We're just interested in hearing his story. Anyway.
We can talk about his deodorant and everything, his soap.
If he wants to come on and talk about that sort of stuff, that's great. We know he likes karting as well, and here on Motorsport Radio, we don't just discriminate about motorsports. We like to talk about everything, but on this show, it's mostly bikes.
Maybe we could get... I'm going to message Lorenzo Lopez, see if he wants to come on.
Yeah, do it.
I mean, send them also the clip of the latest show and the grilling that he got.
That was, maybe he just I didn't send Iannone a clip of the last show that we did because where we talked about it anyway.
I've only got good stuff to say about Iannone.
Yeah, well, I can't just clip that 5 seconds out of the whole 2 hours where we slagged him off. But anyway, the invite is still there to Iannone if he does want to come on. I don't know why he would.
Why he wouldn't, you should be saying.
He's got no reason to come on this show, has he? So, unless he's got something to get off his chest. Which is mostly.
Anyway, going back to World Superbikes.
Yeah. Lewis?
It wasn't me, or did Jonathan Ray just seem really down this weekend? When I think it was Toseland in the third race just went to go interview him, he just was just sitting on his helmet like this, I'm kind of done with this now. Can you just get me on the Yamaha now? He just looked really
But did he get a lap record?
Wasting time here.
Yeah, got the lap record at the weekend as well. Did Jonathan Ray with the pole position lap records that he holds from this year, and also the race lap record as well that he got this year as well. So he's got the all-time pole and race lap record. So Jonathan Ray will be pretty happy with that. But in race 2/race 3, the third race of the weekend, officially called race 2, Jonathan Ray, it wasn't necessarily a bad race. He got 4th place in the end, but you can completely understand why he'd be disappointed, because both in race 1 and the Superpole, he was able to fight with the likes of Toprak and Rinaldi. But in race 2, in the final race of the weekend, he just dropped like a stone as the race progressed, and he ended up being 14 seconds away from Bautista and 7 seconds away from Rinaldi in front of him.
And even before the start of the race, he kind of looked like he knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, well, they made some changes to the bike, and as we've seen, didn't work at all. So, yeah, Ray, it's good. Always interesting to see, certainly both with Ray and Raz Katioglu, because obviously with the Locatelli looking like he had the faster bike, it's always interesting to see how teams and riders deal with this change towards the end of the partnership, and also how we see it from the outside and how it looks on the TV with the relationship. So Jonathan Ray didn't look the most motivated anyway, most excited, but I'm sure he'll be looking towards the bikes in front of him, i.e.
Do you think that honestly would have...
and thinking that he could do it?
Yeah, do you think that he would have been thinking about that? I mean, in such the professional that he is, and a great world champion that he is, the best British world champion. Yeah. Do you think that really would have affected him, knowing that he's out of the door soon?
Well, I don't think he's going to be that bothered, to be honest, knowing that because he is out the door soon. But still, it's still not the way Jonathan Ray likes to ride. I'm sure that long partnership that he has had with Kawasaki, he's still going to want to do his best and still want to get the best results possible. It's had to fourth is all that was possible. But looking at what they've done earlier in the weekend, he's still going to feel somewhat disheartened by that, knowing that maybe there was a bit more if he simply had the same settings in and didn't change something that wasn't necessarily broken. I mean, there is that saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But it seems like that's what they did at the weekend. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be that disheartened knowing that he's going out from Kawasaki. Obviously, actually, no Alex Lowe's this weekend either, because he's still injured after his crash last round or something, I believe it was. Instead, Marino was in this weekend, replacing him. He finished down in 15th position. So John Frey is a new teammate as well this weekend. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be necessarily too disheartened knowing that the end of the sadly the disappointing end to the Kawasaki relationship after a couple of disappointing seasons it was still the bike to be on. It was still definitely a step up from what he's currently riding, so it's some motivation anyway going into next year.
Well, Ray's podium in the Superpole race, this is according to Kiko Giles of World Superbikes, and he does put together the like a stats roundup type thing, and for nerds like ourselves, we enjoy reading them, but he did say that yes, Jonathan Ray's podium in the Superpole race was the 540th podium place for Kawasaki in World Superbikes, and the 420th different podium they'd had representation on. So there you go.
Good.
Try to think how far back. It's a lot of races.
Yeah, a lot of races.
Yeah.
For Kawasaki.
Damn. Okay.
And who knows, maybe one day Ducati might be able to try and beat those records. Or the way that they're going anyway at the moment. Both actually, pretty much every single championship, Ducati could potentially win MotoGP, BSB, and World Superbikes this season. So it's, of course, World Supersport and potentially British Supersport. So who knows, Ducati could do quite a lot this year. I mean, in MotoGP, I believe this weekend was the 39th race in a row where Ducati's been on the podium and their 9th consecutive pole position as well in MotoGP. I was about to say that earlier on, but statistics reminded me of it. But yeah, Ducati, who knows, maybe one day they can be able to beat those numbers from Kawasaki.
This is an interesting statistic, Jay. In the Super Pole race at the weekend in Aragon, it was the 38th time that Bautista, Ray and Toprak have all shared a podium.
Yeah, they're definitely the three main guys in World Superbikes at the moment. But with two of them changing manufacturers next year, could we see others come into it? It's going to be interesting. Next year's World Superbikes, I think, is going to be really good because of so many. It's been good this year, but it's going to be even better next year just because there's been so many changes, so many people changing bikes and manufacturers. It's going to be really good. Are we going to see Toprak on the podium on that BMW? It's going to be really interesting. So
only if there's
yeah, it's going to be good to see next year. I think Toprak's going to be really good on the BMW. I think he's going to bring it up to that next level. So I think it's going to be very exciting to watch.
Interesting. Okay. We do have a lot to fit in on the show. So, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have much other time. Just checking if Andrea's been back. No, still no reply.
Just quickly, I know we won't touch on World Supersport too much, but I don't know if anyone saw Nicky Tooley had a really horrendous crash, which got raced to stopped. He managed to hit a barrier that wasn't.
Well, he got hit by the bike. He was in between and he got.
Yeah, so fingers crossed he is okay. He was moving after the crash, which is the main thing. But yeah, fingers crossed he is okay because that looked like a really horrible accident.
The end of a season, though. But yeah, anyway, so that aside with World Superbikes, and the next round is this weekend again, did you say?
Yeah, Portimao.
Yeah, no, Portimao.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a okay track. I mean, it looks spectacular, but it's just,
I think it's a very good track. That is one of the better modern tracks.
I would like them to go to, what's the MSV Spanish track called?
That's not Spanish, it's in Portugal.
What the hell is it called? The Navarra. What? I would like World Superbikes to go back to Navarra. Maybe it'll happen next year.
Potentially, who knows?
Yeah.
BSB's going to be at Navarra next year.
No, they won't. Don't say that. British Superbikes. I don't know. I'm Scottish.
Opening rounds after the testing. They'll do a test.
I suggested that at the start of the season. Everyone went absolutely mental and be like, "Oh, it's British Superbikes. Oh, you can't do that." And we're like forgetting that we've been to Assen for many, many, many years and stuff. Whatever. Anyway, talking about British Superbikes, let's talk about British Superbikes. Back in action this weekend at Donington Park for the second time. And, well, yes, as we discussed last week and leaving Alton Park, tensions, language and tempers seem to have mellowed and calmed down. Apparently it's not all-out war now, despite...
I think Glenn has said that there's no bitterness between him and Bridewell, but I'm sure
he would say that, wouldn't he? Because he's playing mind games, and he's got a championship to win, so he's going to be playing it cool. He's like, I don't think there's going to be anything. Whereas Tommy Bridewell's, spinning around in a temper. He can't handle the pressure, according to some. So yeah, the continuation maybe of that title boiling over into Donington Park this weekend. Lewis, any initial predictions that you're hoping to see or might happen this weekend?
This weekend at Donington, I honestly, who knows what's going to happen? No one can predict
that's what I'm asking you.
at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be tricky to predict anything. I mean, not necessarily for Donington, but even till the end of the season. As we said it, I've said it before, I'll be surprised if we don't see it coming together from these Ducatis. I'm not saying they'll take each other out, but it's going to get some tough racing anyway, some close racing, some fierce racing, elbows out, shall we say, towards the end of the year. And I think the relationship, it's going to be more like we've seen at Alton Park. I mean, apparently it's mellowed, but I think get on the track.
You know, Tommy Bridewell still thinks that he should have won that race where he got penalised.
Yeah, so he's still going to be thinking about that.
He's going to go into the first race.
He still believes he did nothing wrong. So.
Yeah, even though he won race 3 at Alton, he's coming into Donington thinking, I need to right that particular wrong. But yeah, maybe, and I did say last week, perhaps it was the emotion of the particular weekend where we were all saying goodbye to Paul Bird and thinking of him in his, and maybe the emotions of that spilled over into what we saw, which he later apologised for sticking his middle finger up at race control, which you should never do. Never works out for you, basically. But yeah, he did apologise for that the next day in a video, which he also said in the same video, but I should have still won that race. I don't think it really... Anyway. So, Jay, your thoughts? What's going to happen?
We've kind of got... Because Glenn is very strong at Donington and Tommy is very strong at Brands. So, but is that going to happen? Is Glenn going to win all 3 races at Donington? Is Tommy going to win all 3 races at Brands? Probably not. Brands Hatch last weekend's last race of the season. So what are we talking? Second weekend in October in England, getting a bit cold and wet now. It's going to be weather conditions are not going to be great. I very highly doubt we're going to have a dry weekend. I can almost hear Jack
Bernacle screaming as we approach the last lap, and they're both together, and there's half a point in it.
Yeah, there's going to be so many twists and turns in these last 6 races. It's going to be really close, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to go. It's pretty much guaranteed with these races of the season. Is it going to be John Hopkins, Tommy Hill finale? I think it could be. I think it could. It could go all the way down to the last lap. There's a real good chance of it. So, yeah,
35 points for a race win at Brands Hatch as well. Keep in mind.
Yeah, so it's going to be a blockbuster, isn't it? It's going to be Chris Walker, Neil Hodgson. All those amazing battles we've had last rounds of the season is going to happen all over again. And it's going to be brilliant to watch. And I'm so glad I'm going to be there for both of them.
Yeah. Is it going to be the 33-year-old Glenn Irwin leading at the moment by just half a point? Or is it going to be the 35-year-old Tommy Bridewell? Well.
And what makes it even more is these two have been in this championship a really long time. So they've been trying to win this championship for probably Tommy a little longer, but they've definitely been in this championship for
a long time.
I'm going to say 10 years, both of them, probably a long while. So this means they're both in the stages of their career where they're probably not going to go any further. They might get a wild card in World Superbikes, but BSB is where they're going to be at. So you don't know. Both of these riders, this could be their best opportunity to win this championship. They might never get it again. So they're going to be so desperate to win it. It's going to be a brilliant last watch for these last 2 rounds.
8th season for Glenn Irwin in BSB. His first race, Silverstone 2016.
Yep, I'm going to say it has been 10 for Tommy, I reckon.
I'm guessing, yes, a bit longer for Tommy Bridewell. But I mean... Well, it's I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I like Glenn Irwin and I like Tommy Bridewell.
I'm Team Glenn.
Oh, Lewis, are you going to...
I'm going to be unbiased here. I just want to see it go down to the final round, have some good racing, and make a final lap for the final race of the year. John Hopkins, Tommy Hill style would be spectacular.
And Tommy Bridewell. Sorry,
I just want to see a good race. So yeah, hopefully we can see that. Tommy Bridewell as well. I think 2010 would have been his first year in BSB. So quite a long time ago. So 13 years at racing in BSB.
He's not. Only the past few seasons for Bridewell has been consistent in BSB. He's before then, I think if I vaguely remember rightly, and I might not, he's had part campaigns and he's had broken seasons.
He's been in a hell of a lot of different teams.
Putting it nicely, that's what I meant to say. Whereas Glenn Irwin hasn't had that.
And I think Tommy as well. I think he's rode for BMW. I think he's rode for Yamaha.
Suzuki.
He has rode for Kawasaki, rode for Suzuki. So I think he's done the rounds. I think he's been all the way around. So yeah, he's desperate for it. Desperate. Both of them are. I don't think there's either of them that don't want it more. So it's like I said, he can't brew it up so nicely.
Okay, well, there was an announcement yesterday regarding Franco Born. He's no longer racing for Honda. We did say on last week's show that if anyone has earned and deserved their place in BSB, now it is Franco Born, top class rider. He's a graduate from Fab Racing Minibikes British National Championship, and he is the champion of the British Talent Cup from 2020, I believe.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, Franco Born, 2020 Talent Cup champion. So, he's already made the announcement that he's going to be sticking around a couple more races in BSB, but not with Honda.
On a Honda, though.
He's on a Honda, though.
Yeah, but not with
not with the factory team, It won't even technically be on a BSB bike. It'll be on a BSB pathway bike, and so will Alex Olsen as well, who's moving from Superstock into the pathway class. Yeah, it's almost a test for next season when the pathway class is going to be introduced, and it's going to be for riders who's moving from Superstock to the Superbike class for their first season only, and then they will have to jump to a full Superbike. So they're all going to have to use a Motec ECU, and there's going to be some slightly different regulation requirements on like when you cycle certain mechanical parts to try and make it a little bit more manageable for the rider anyway, and almost reduce the jump and almost a step in between from a full-blown Superbike. So it's going to be interesting to see actually how much off the pace they are. I don't think they are going to be off the pace because they're both extremely talented riders, but how the bikes differentiate, how different the lap times are between a full-blown Superbike and the pathway machine. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. Yeah, I mean, Franco would be the perfect person at this moment in time to test that bike, because he's got a direct knowledge of the main factory bike, and so a lot of eyes are going to be on him this weekend for that reason. For you, Jay, I'm going to start asking predictions now from both of you. Jay, who will win a race this weekend? I think we will definitely see Glenn and Tommy win a race. It just depends what happens in the races they don't win, whether they'll. So who's going to win the third? We saw Tommy have incidents at Alton Park when he didn't win. So there's going to be a lot of controversy. It's not going to be the straight of one coming first, one coming second. There's a lot of other riders there who you've got to look at people like Lee Jackson, who still hasn't got a ride for next season, and he's probably riding the best he's rode all his career. So he's going to be really up for it. There's going to be other people in the mix. We're just making it like it's these two battling for the championship. Obviously, Kyle Rye goes extremely well at Donington as well. So we're going to see people like Kyle Rye battling up at the front as well. So BSB, it's always extremely close. But I'm going to say Glenn's going to win 2. I don't know who's going to win it. I don't think he'll win all 3. I think it's too difficult, but we'll see. But I think Glenn's going to win 2. And Bridewell, you said he's going to win 1 as well. So that'll be the 3. Or you're changing your mind now? I don't want to say I don't want him to, but
Glenn to win 2, the third one, Carl Ride. I'm not going to say Tommy Bridewell. Carl Ride to win. Carl Ride will win the first one. He always comes out the traps flying, Carl Ride. So Carl Ride to win the first one, Glenn Irwin to win Sunday races.
All right, Lewis, over to you. Who's going to win a race this weekend?
Yeah, I was going to say Carl Ride anyway. Potentially we could see maybe a Jason O'Halloran in the mix this weekend. I don't know if he'll be able to pull off a race win, but I'd certainly think he's been battling for it. Tommy Bridewell, I'm going to say, is going to finish ahead of Glenn Irwin this weekend at Donington Park.
Wow.
And he's going to do...
So he's going to be leading the championship.
Anyway, he's going to be the top Ducati. He's going to lead the championship, leaving Donington Park. That's going to be my main prediction, and Kyle Ride as well. But I still think Glenn Irwin's going to be consistently on the podium this weekend.
So who were those three again? For the 3 races.
Yeah, Tommy Bridewell, he's going to leave the championship. I think he's going to win at least 1 race this weekend.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put Kyle Ride win 2.
Winning 2 races?
Win 2 races, yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Well, maybe not even... I think a Yamaha races this weekend anyway, but yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know. It's hard to call. Lester,
talking about Yamaha, we have another McCann's replacement rider, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Endurance rider.
Nicolo Canepa will be coming in this weekend in BSB
Got a lot of people very excited.
Yeah, to replace Tenerife. Canepa, it was talked about an Italian coming in, and well, Canepa would have been your first pick, I guess you could say, out of maybe riders that weren't fully contracted to another manufacturer at the moment. So Canepa coming over from World Endurance, racing for the Yart Yamaha team this year. He's raced for Yart Yamaha actually for the past couple of seasons, and has raced with the GMT 94 team as well on the Yamaha. So basically he's been a Yamaha man most of his endurance career. He's actually helped Yamaha take the EWC title this season and win the World Endurance Championship in 2023. They topped that off 2 weeks ago. It must have been the Alton Park weekend anyway, and they won their first title since 2017. So he's a highly experienced rider. He's raced at both Donington Park and Brands Hatch in the past, in his earlier days, I should say, when he's racing in European Superstock back in 2007. So it's been quite a while for Canepa. I think I don't know what your class is doing well for
top 10.
I think he's going to struggle. We're going to see some points anyway this weekend. I think there's a chance. He's a quick rider.
Yeah, well, a lot of people were saying when that was announced, why not bring someone else up who a British
was
rider?
British.
Yeah, but
it's just hard to find someone who's not already doing something, isn't it?
It's in championship contention at the moment. It's near the end of the season.
Yeah. So,
and basically, because that team's kind of finishing at the end of the year, it's gone. I don't want to say they're not bothered, but they're kind of just like, let's just give anyone an opportunity, really. We've had Tito on that bike. We had Staplefords, and now we've got Nico Canepa having a go. So it's just kind of everyone's having a go, really, aren't they?
Are you going to turn up with your helmet, Jay?
Yeah, Brands Hatch.
Just in case.
I'm in talks at the moment for Brands Hatch.
Sort it out. So, get Alpine Stars on the phone.
Yeah. My brother's getting me. I've got a McCann suit being made as we speak.
Yeah. Is he doing any more racing?
My brother, not this season. I think are the BMWs at Donington?
Yeah, they're at Donington. Yeah.
I think it's their last round, isn't it? Or are there Brands as well? I can't remember.
I think it's our last round this weekend, and the Junior Supersport as well this weekend.
Well, yeah. A lot to celebrate this weekend then.
Yes, come on, Finn, to win the championship. Previous guest.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Finn certainly has the upper hand, although he's tied on points of Lennon Dockett. It sounds like Lennon's out for the rest of the year anyway after his crash in qualifying at Alton Park. So, yeah, Finn Sportweek could also be a champion this weekend. And as well, who knows what we're going to see in the British Talent Cup. Evan Belford leads the way heading into the final round, but it's still his to lose, really, at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's talking about...
It's going to be crucial.
Talking about Belford, we will get on to doing a full chat in just a second. But yeah, just going back briefly, since I asked you both about BSB predictions, it's only fair that I tell you mine as well.
Yes.
So there you go. Ryan Vickers is going to win one race this weekend.
Oh, oof.
I don't know how, but that's what I'm saying. Another race winner will be Glenn Irwin, and another race winner will be Lee Jackson.
He's got to fight for a ride.
Again,
you didn't say Tommy. I like you a lot, Lester.
Well, nothing against Tommy. It's just you have to pick three, and Ryan's already won. He's already proven himself as a winner. We know
he got a second the last time we were at Donington, I think, at the start of the year.
Yeah, I think that was his first podium in BSB.
Yeah,
right.
Nearly beat O'Halloran towards the end. It was a very close finish.
I'm sure Kyle will be on the pace, probably a podium, as whoever said it was.
He's always very quick at Donington, is Kyle.
Yeah, but I think Lee Jackson, has he won? He's not one of
this season.
No.
Maybe something might happen and he could take advantage of it. Maybe
he's the one fighting for a ride. He really is, because he's a good rider and he definitely deserves to be in BSB, and he deserves to be on a good bike as well. So,
for example, I can see a scenario where Lee Jackson manages to somehow get himself ahead of either Glenn Irwin or Tommy Bridewell, the pairing at Ducati. Those two will maybe not want to risk. I'm just making stuff up now, but maybe those two will not want to risk it for a biscuit, because there's only half a point in it at the moment. It might be a scenario where either Glenn or Tommy just think, yeah, we'll let Lee go ahead and win that one, and just, it's just two. It's getting to that really sharp point in the championship where
you can't afford a DNF.
Exactly. Yeah, basically. And
especially with these extra points now.
Oh yeah, there's even more points. So picking up a second is more valuable than picking up a second place. At Donington Park is more valuable than picking up a second at any other track in the previous. That makes sense, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes a change. Anyway, so that's what I think is going to happen. If it doesn't happen, you won't hear any more of it. But if it does happen, it'll all be over Facebook and Instagram. You're like, I predicted Lee Jackson was going to win and Ryan Vickers. But
we'll see who's right on next week's show. I'll keep a note of it.
Yeah, don't bother.
Going back to the championships, can Ben Curry can he do the Supersport Championship this weekend? I know he's got a bit of a gap now, because I don't think Tom Booth Amos is at this round, because he'll be at World Superbikes.
He'll be at World Superbikes racing at Portimao. So yeah, the gap between himself and so he could do the title this weekend, technically, if he just manages to keep a lead over Rhys Irwin. So 86 points is the gap between himself and Rhys Irwin. So
how many, sorry?
86.
86. Oh, so yeah, he just gets to...
Yeah, well, Rhys Irwin last round, he didn't get one finish after a mechanical issue with his exhaust, and then taken out by Richard Cooper at Shell Oil's hairpin. So, yeah.
Well,
so yeah,
technically.
So we could have three. Well, we will have two. We could have three champions this weekend. Well, four, because we'll have the B&Ws as well.
Yeah, well, one of those championships, the R&G British Talent Cup, I did want to mention these lot, and we did talk about them briefly on last week's show. If you're unaware of the what's going on in the standings and stuff, basically, Evan Belford kind of almost, I'm reluctant to say, was kind of running away with things at one point, but... well, he was. But in the championship, it's looking like it could go down to the final race. It could have been wrapped up at the last round at Alton Park, but Sullivan Mousey won one of the races and narrowly missed out on another victory in race number 2. He's the only person who could potentially stop Evan Belford. I'm reluctant to say anything in detail because I do not want to jinx anybody. Emmanuel Brinton is settled for third now, in that he can't do anything. He's basically third. Harley McCabe is in fourth in the championship right now. He could be overtaken potentially by Lucas Brown, who is on form at the moment, but Harley McCabe is also on form, and both of them have been invited to the Red Bull Rookies Cup invitational sort of tryouts, whenever that is, in a few weeks, I think, as has Ollie Walker as well, I think, and Philip Soroviak, and Evan Belford as well.
Emmanuel Brinton.
And Emmanuel Brinton. I did text Sullivan Mounsey early on in the show, and I did text him last week as well, to ask him, because he's not yet said that he has been invited for the selection process. And I texted him just after we came on air, and I said, did you also get an invite? Because, well, I'm being nosy.
Everyone else did.
Know. Basically, yeah. I would be shocked if he did not, well, he wasn't invited, but so far he's not said that he has been invited, which is shocking in and of itself. But that just might be that he's not posted about it. So, yeah.
The selection event for the Red Bull Rookies is the 2nd to the 4th of October, so the Monday to the Thursday. So, yeah, next week they'll be flying to Spain, literally on either Sunday night or the Monday morning, to head over to the selection event.
Yeah. And other riders as well. I think Finan Werity, the Irish rider as well, who did once race at Fab Racing mini bikes, has been also invited over, and some other people as well. I can't remember everyone's name. I wrote them down, but I forgot where I wrote them. But yeah, so Philip Soroviak, just off the top of my head, there are more. Ollie Walker, Lucas Brown, Harley McCabe, Emmanuel Brinton, Evan Belford, so far, amongst others. But interestingly,
Ryan Frost.
Did he get invited as well? Did he definitely?
I'll quickly clarify.
Okay. But anyway, the fact that Mounsey has not...
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So Ryan Frost as well. But the fact that Sullivan Mounsey has not yet publicly said he's also been invited is a bit mysterious. And he's not responded.
Keeping everyone under suspense.
He does like to do that. He is, but at least...
Maybe he doesn't want to say anything in case he doesn't get it, if you know what I mean.
Well, you can at least turn up to the thing on Monday, you
never write on Facebook that you've got an interview for a job, do you? You only ever write when you've got the job, don't you? So maybe he's doing that.
Well, we'll know if everyone else turns up and he's not there. Because, little things like that, it just makes people like me think, well, hang on, where's Mounsey? Where's his invite to the Red Bull?
It would be a real shame if he didn't. It would be a real shame and actually quite confusing if he never got.
It'd be a scandal.
Yeah, well, it would be. Yeah, you would really have to wonder why he wouldn't get an invite. Anyway, to say the least, after the season that he's second place in the championship.
Exactly, and by far one of the most charismatic people that Fab Racing Mini Bikes British National Championship has produced. And he's a fantastic ambassador. He still races. He recently won the Extreme 200 Championship ahead of Philip Soroviak. They were racing on pit bikes and stuff. Sullivan Mounsey's picked up his first championship, I think ever. I think that was his... I can't remember. Anyway, RNG British Talent Cup. It could go down to the final race this weekend at Donington. Evan Belford will be surely looking to have things wrapped up by race number 1. And it'll be, I think, Tristan Finocchiaro commentating on that race. So that'll be...
so we'll get loads of fab chatting.
Or I think it is, or it might be Tom Brooks. I'm not too sure. I can't. No, Tom Brooks is away, so it will be Tristan, I think. But
for all support, then, if Tom's away.
Maybe, yes. Well, I guess so. Could it be Sullivan Mounsey? Could he do the... And I suggested to him that he might be just a little bit too far behind in the championship. at Alton Park that it was almost kind of out of his reach. He was like, no. While there's still a possibility, he was understandably high on confidence, which is great. He does have, I think it's minus 37 points behind, I think, at the moment in the championship. So, yeah, with 50... I
think Sully will do the double this weekend, but he won't win the championship.
Ooh.
Because I think Evan will play it safe, get the points he needs, and win the championship. But Sully will go out and win both races. And I also think Ronnie Harris will get his first podium this weekend because he's going to be full of confidence after a really good weekend at Oldham.
Rockin' Ronnie Harris. There we go. Yeah, he did have, like you say, Jay, a fantastic Alton Park. 2 fantastic results. Finished 4th place. He was, I think, leading by about half a lap in race 2, I think it was, on one of the races anyway. And Ronnie Harris, couple of really good finishes. Can he translate that into performance at Donington? Wait and see. His younger brother, Bill Harris, looking to get involved in the British Talent Cup next year, but his parents are like, don't know about that. So maybe they can play each other off each other and be like, well, Ronnie, you DNF'd at the last round, so we're going to give Bill a ride just because you maybe it's like sure they're not that. Anyway, it's always a mystery to me why only one of the Mellor brothers is racing in BSB this year. But maybe I
think it's cost. I think it is cost.
And Owen, of course, I moved to GP2 as well mid-season now, away from the junior super stock class. So, yeah.
It's all up in the air as well if GP2 will continue next season as well. Still no confirms if that class will be going ahead next season or not.
So in terms of...
We need the space on the Supersport grid.
Yeah, it's going to be packed.
Where do people like Rhys Stevenson of the British Talent Cup go? Because he's not quite said he's not doing Talent Cup anymore, but he is, and his family are looking elsewhere for next season. I'd personally like to see him remain in the British Talent Cup, or even do some European racing and continue, because he is in he was this year in the Red Bull Rookies Cup.
He's just been told he's not been invited back for the second season, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but onwards and upwards, because whilst one door closes, another one
hopefully will open.
Yes, but you never know. Another person probably on his way out, almost certainly, definitely, when I say on his way out, what I mean is onwards and upwards, is Harrison Desoy. He's 18 at the moment, so that's an amazing statistic, given that everyone else is like 14 and 15 and stuff, and he's 18. And he's had so much bad luck, but he did get a podium to his credit at the last round at Alton Park. Wasn't able to get 2 podiums, and I love Harrison Desoy because he celebrates. He goes absolutely wild on the podium whenever I think he won a race at Silverstone, and he went absolutely mental. And I just wish that all the other riders would also enjoy the moment as much as Harrison Desoy does. He's great to see on the podium because he really, 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 really does celebrate it. Just like Jay King whenever he gets a pit bike podium. Fab. So,
a win, but that doesn't happen very often anymore.
But we've also got a new racer to the British Talent Cup as well this weekend. It's Samuel Munson from Swindon. He's not 123 years old. I don't actually know how old he is. 16, I think. The Munson Burner, as he's termed, is another Fab Racing graduate, racing with his mates who he's grown up with from Fab, and he's doing a wildcard ride this weekend at Donington. Sam Munson, as is... there was another German kid who I've forgotten the name of.
You got a feeling that Sam Munson is probably doing that because he's probably going to be in British Talent Cup full time next season, because obviously Junior Supersport has now finished.
Well, I don't know why he wasn't in BTC this year because,
it's quick.
It's quick.
Thias Wenzel.
Thias Wenzel. Thias
Wenzel. Thias Wenzel. Anyway.
Fair enough. Yes, him. He'll be making apparently a wildcard ride this weekend at Donington Park. So, Jay, race winning predictions. 2 races, British Talent Cup.
I've already told you.
Oh, yeah, you said Mounsey, didn't you?
I think Mounsy's going to win both, but unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately because I like Evan and Sully. I think Evan will win the championship, but Evan will just go out, come like third, fourth place just to get those points he needs to win the championship.
Okay. And Lewis?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with Jay. Be boring. I think Mounsey's going to do everything he can, but I think
what's
we
the
need
weather going to be
somewhat
like?
of a miracle or a massive shame for Evan Belford for him to take the title. So yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Who knows? Maybe we could see the likes of Harrison Desailly. You know, we mentioned them. He's won at Silverstone, and also won at Donington the first time they went there this year.
Yes.
So who knows? He could get back on the top step once again. Harlan McCabe as well. He got his first podium on the McCabe racing machine at Donington Park as well at the start of the season, and came out of nowhere really on that bike after not having a ride at the start of the year. So who knows? Harlan McCabe could be up there, but yeah, I think overall, Sullivan Mintz is going to take the race win, and Evan Belford is going to have a conservative weekend on the City Lifting RS racing machine.
Interesting. I'm just having a look at the weather on.
It looks stable,
Met
I think,
Office.
last time I looked. Because
Yeah.
I'm camping, so.
How are you?
Yeah.
Well, on your own, or are you going with your family?
No, I'm solo camping. It was only a last minute decision to even go to this round. I wasn't planning on it until I went to Alton Park and was like, you know what?
Mooching about the paddock, be sure to say hello to them, or...
We're both quite happy to do selfies or anything like that.
Yeah, we know you are as well, but basically, whatever happens in any of the championships, we wish everybody the absolute best, and make sure everyone has nice, clean races this weekend at Donington. And I'm going to be there documenting what happens in the British Talent Cup and putting some of it on the Instagrams and stuff, and making some cool little reels and whatnot and stuff, and trying to get Evan to go mad and celebrate if he wins.
I still can't imagine him going mad if he does win the championship.
He's not that sort of personality. Him and Sullivan had like completely different personalities.
I can imagine if Sully wins the championship, there will be fireworks.
They'll be doing backflips and everything.
You know what they do in Spain when they have the firecrackers at the side of the track? I can imagine him lighting them. It would be...
It'll be a show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just on the off chance that maybe Evan might have won at Alton Park. I was like saying to his dad, "Have you got anything planned?" You know, no, not really. Just going to go out there and race. Like, well, what if he wins? What if it happens? You've got to
no gold helmet or anything like that.
You know, have something. No, not really. So yeah, hopefully. I can cajole them into doing something or something. I don't know. But yeah, best of luck to all the riders in the RNG British Talent Cup this weekend. The final race of 2023 is here. Wow, it's a kind of a sad one in the RNG British Talent Cup. And also...
It's gone like that this season. It only feels like yesterday I was at the first round at Silverstone.
Was you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went to the first round.
But yeah, it's been a good season so far, I think. Yeah, and in the other championships as well. So whatever happens, I'm going to try and get some people on to next week's show to do some interviews, depending on how championships go, if they're in a good or bad mood. But we'll see. I'll just invite a load of people on. So anyway, Jay, fantastic to have you back on the show once again.
It's been a good show.
Yeah, it's been all right, I think. Yeah. So, and Lewis, thank you once again. Do check out, incidentally, Lewis's articles on the website, motorsport.radio. When he's not busy at college or at work or doing this or being minded by me or doing this show, he's also doing articles for the website, which are very popular, more so than the World Superbikes on Facebook. So, yeah. Motorsport.radio.
More interaction.
A lot more interaction. Don't know how. But yeah, whatever. So yeah. And do check out The Breakfast Show, Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock in the morning from 6 till 9 a.m. in the morning with myself and Kiko, where we talk mostly all motorsport and mostly rubbish, but about motorsport. It's the world's only motorsport-related breakfast show, permanent-related breakfast show. So check it out. And also, keep on downloading the podcast version of the show. Take us with you wherever you go. And if you happen to be, maybe you can take part in this, Lewis. This Friday and Saturday night from, I think, about 7 o'clock in the evening, Motorsport Radio, the 24-hour web radio stream, has a paddock party. Yes, perfect. If you're, let's say, at a campsite with friends and beer, or in a social setting, let's say, or if you're just fixing a bike in the garage and you're feeling a bit miserable, stick Motorsport Radio on and stream some groovy tunes. It's the Motorsport Radio Paddock Party. Every Friday and Saturday from 7. Jay's like, what the fuck? I don't even know. It's for cool people, Jay. It's for cool people.
I've just glazed over now.
But anyway, so thank you very much for tuning in. And have a good one at Donington. We will. And keep it clean and keep it mean. See you later.
This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2, 3.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.